welcome to Hartford Public Access, world headquarters of the Whaler guys, and you, the Whalers Brigade. Tonight, we're going to talk about the license plate drive, just briefly, the season ticket drive, and a very special moment that the Whaler guys had with Brendan Lynch from Batter Up Capital and Pucky at the Connecticut Children's Medical Center. Tonight, Jerry Irwin with Peter Hindle from the Examiner.com. And so, Pete, let's start with the good news. The good news is about the Children's Medical Center, Connecticut Children's Medical Center. Yeah,
one of the young people we met there who was going through treatment, had a picture taken with Pucky. And we noticed immediately that this guy definitely was, he definitely wanted to be out there. He took plenty of pictures, and the staff said, "Oh, he's great. You know, has a great upbeat personality. He was battling some bone cancer, and he just completed his treatment of chemo." And Connecticut Children's Hospital did a special thing on, I believe it was on their social media account.
It was his video blog.
Oh, it was his video
blog.
Did.
Joshua Smith did his own video blog about his stay at Connecticut Children's Medical Center. And we thank the administrators at Connecticut Children's Medical Center for letting us come in. Brendan Lynch from Batter Up Capital, and the Baldwins for letting us use Pucky to bring a lot of smiles to the kids' faces, and especially Josh. He was a ham in front of the camera. They took a lot of pictures.
Yeah, it was great to see him, and then it was great. He was probably the oldest kid that we saw there, but he was a big basketball fan, and he definitely hammed it up for the camera. And it was great for us to get out there. It was a great experience. We hope to do more things like that. We want to thank the Baldwins very much for letting us lose Pucky. Make sure that they know that.
Yeah, it was nice. Like we talked about, the nurses and the staff remember Whaler games, and they went with their spouses or they attended the games. So as much as we're 18 years out, a lot of people still have great memories of the Whalers when they're here, and still bring them up. They're not forgotten. When you heard from everybody, it was really a little, and that security officer who was there, he had a great time with Pucky, and he bring him back.
The older staff members either had a spouse or a family member that remembered being, we run into so many people that say that they were former season ticket holders. And it's almost like, how could there have been that many? There's so many, it's just people don't remember. A lot of people accuse the team of not being supported, but that really wasn't the case. It was more an issue of ownership versus the state. While the Whalers left. Now, I'm not going to tell you that when the Whalers were doing horrible, was the support outstanding? No, it wasn't. But where is it? Anywhere.
And like we've discussed before, we have very fickle fans in this state. You put up your money, you want to see a winner. And for the diehard Whaler fans, season ticket holders that arrived every night, regardless of whether it was snowstorm or just a really poor performance of the team, they were always there. Then we always had that dynamic where you had a really rich owner and poor hockey operations, or vice versa, where you had great hockey operations with Emil Francis, and then an owner who was trying to keep the team here but didn't have the big money to spend on a lot of big star players.
There were salary dumps. Once that the team was broken up, the '86 team kind of got broken up probably. After Francis, 90, 91, 92, when they got rid of Deneen. Then, we were dealing with a lot of players that were journeymen, who weren't necessarily bad players, but they were either past their prime or, you think of certain things like that. And that has something to play with attendance. But, that's why we're starting, or have started, the season ticket drive, which we're around 400 online signatures. And every time someone signs that petition, an email goes to Governor Malloy to let him know that, here we go, we're creeping up. And this is just you and me doing this on social media, getting 400 people. Wait till we bring this petition to the people at UConn hockey games, the attendance there. We're going to see if we can, set up something with a UConn game and have people be able to sign up there. So, get us a lot more exposure. We'll see a lot more people interested in season tickets, because we're talking about you sign that. You're not saying you're signing up for season tickets. You're saying you're interested in learning more about season ticket. And so you could sign a 10-game plan. You could put four of your buddies together and sign up for a 40-game plan, and you each split 10 games. There's a lot of ways to do it. And I think once we get confirmation maybe from a investment group, and they show interest in the season ticket drive, then you might really see people start to fill in and sign up.
And you would think that, all the shows we've done, the groups that we talk to, our sources in the city, you would think that someone would email us or talk to us or get to us through someone that we're mutual friends with to kind of give us the background. And nobody's come forward yet, and that's why we can't give you that information. Yeah. And even if they did come to us and say, hey, keep this under the radar, of course we're going to keep it under the radar, because we are not going to jeopardize, like we've said before, the closest we've been in 18 years. It's very important that, you know, whatever we find out, we get the clearance to give you guys so you know what's going on. And like I said before, the reason why I started this ticket drive is we were given information that it would probably be a good idea if we did that. Yeah. When we met with that person, he said it 3 times in the same conversation, and he kept on going back. You guys should really start a season ticket drive. And this person is a pretty influential person within the city and state. Right. So we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing, and we just need you guys to keep on doing it, because the NHL has taken notice of what we're all doing through the Bristol Blues and John Holt and Channel 3 putting it out there. It was just a great opportunity because the NHL caught wind of it. And you know, that's all we can do is plug away. Right. We have another hockey season where we don't have the NHL here, but it's a good foundation that we've all started with the license plates and the season ticket drive. That let's just keep that going through the hockey season. And
it should ramp up a little bit, because we're talking, this is September 10th, 2015. You know, UConn's first game is the first week of October. I think it's the 3rd against Arizona. Then you have the Wolfpack kickoff the week after that. Their first game is October 10th. So once hockey gets going,
the NHL starts October 7th.
That's right. Yep. So I mean, once hockey starts to ramp up, you might see that season ticket. We really want to build that up, and you know, the NHL taking notice. They didn't take notice as in kind of like a laughter. They took it like, well, hey, how about that? Here's another city putting together a season ticket drive where you haven't seen it in Seattle, you haven't seen it, you know, in other
Kansas
cities.
City or any of the dimensions, even Quebec.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they are one of the expansion teams, so it's almost a given that them and Las Vegas are on their way to joining the NHL. But yes, we're the second one. Las Vegas did theirs. We are now doing one, and I think it's just so important that everyone steps up. And no, we're not committing you to it. We just need the signatures to show the strength in numbers that we are committed to have a season ticket core. So if and when this team comes here, we can reach out and help the hockey club start a season ticket, a real season ticket drive. This is just to show the numbers.
Yeah, because remember in 1997, Carmanos kept raising the bar in the season tickets, and there was up to like 10 to 11,000 season ticket holders. Now they won't all full season tickets, but still there was partials in there, and there was just enough interest in there, and that demographic has grown, as we know from the XL Center plan they put together. And you know, we think right now things are kind of quiet. We haven't gotten a lot of information about the NHL and the investment group or Malloy, or about any visitors coming to the XL Center. But we think being quiet is a good thing. You know, we're pretty sure that you know, there's a big mayor race going on right now in Hartford between Luke Bronin and Mayor Segarra. And maybe once that gets a little bit more resolved, and you know, next week is the Democratic primary, maybe we will start to hear more after that kind of develops, because Hartford's going to have a mayor that's going to play a part in this somehow, you would think.
And that's step number 1. Step number 2 is getting that legislation passed to get this XL Center underway.
Yeah, that'll be the big one.
When, and I say when, the state agrees with the state legislature to pass that bill to have this arena retrofitted, I think it's all green lights from there.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest stumbling point, and we've talked about it for years, that we need a new XL Center. Yeah. Well, we're going to get a refurbished XL Center, just like Winnipeg did.
Right.
And that's the whole key. Once we get past the little bit of doubt that we're moving forward, once that approved, I think any of those relocation teams are really going to start talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Because then, you know, you're talking about a real plan. You know, right now it's a plan, but it's not been acted on. You need that action from the
other
state.
shoe hasn't fallen.
Right. And we've beaten this drum 100 times on this show. They're not going to do nothing. I know it's a double negative, but they're going to do something, is what I'm trying to say. Because the XL Center is at a point now where if you don't do anything, you're pretty much, it's almost like a house that has no roof. I mean, it'd be condemned. The building's just, it's not that it's unsafe to be in, but it's not a state-of-the-art building that you can draw concerts,
you can't market it. You can't market it at all.
Right,
and it's not fair to Spectra, who again is setting out to another hockey season, basketball season, to get things done.
Right.
They need a quality facility to market,
to be able to do
their
business.
Sure. So you know, we have a lot going forward. just because it's quiet doesn't mean it's a bad thing, like you said. I think we're now in a waiting period, a holding pattern, for lack of a better term, to see what now the state's going to do with their proposal to the legislature and see where we end up. You know, hopefully by January or next year to really get this thing focused.
We've got great support from some of the legislatures already. You know, we talked about Kurt Vail, Paul Doyle, the senator for the state of Connecticut, and also
Matthew Ritter. Yep.
And you know, once the new session comes in, we're hoping we can talk to them and maybe share some of the things that they are seeing and hearing and share them with you here. So we look forward to that. It's kind of you know, interested in seeing a legislative session because we have a lot to talk about in this next session.
And like we've talked about before, if they throw the arena deal in there, hopefully they'll slide that license plate deal right in with it.
Yeah, we would like to see that. There, it would be great to see Whaler license plates. You know, we got great responses on that, as you know. We have more than enough signatures. We got a great job from Kurt Vail, the representative from the Stafford Springs area. So, you know, we're very hopeful.
And Matthew Ritter's right from the Hartford area, so he's the representative you want to contact if you have any questions on that. The same with Paul Doyle, he's in the Weathersfield area. And, you know, now, moving forward, we have an exciting opportunity next week. We're going to be on location to tape our show with the nationally recognized hockey band, the Zambonis. We are going down to Fairfield, and we're going to go to their studio, Peter and I and Dan behind the camera, and do a show while they do some music. They play some music, play a couple sets, and in between we'll be interviewing the band members. And then, hopefully at the same time, you know how technology savvy we are, do a podcast at the same time. And hopefully we can spin both of them at the same time so we can have a little variation. Yeah,
because those guys have been great. I mean, I remember hearing Bob Marley and the Hartford Whalers are gone. I think it was, I don't actually know when it was written, but I remember seeing it in 98, 99 around there. And I thought, what the heck are they talking about? Well, you know, Bob Marley had a band called the Whalers. But I think it was Wailers. And they just kind of threw that together, and it's a neat, fun song. It's been great, and you saw them if you were at the Whalers Fan Fest. They got a drum set with the Whaler logos on it. One guy wears a Whaler jersey.
And they were freezing their keisters off.
They were, but the Baldwins got them there, and we'll be going down there. They're excited to see us, so we're happy about that.
And you know, they are selling T-shirts on their Facebook page. Bob Marley and the Hartford Whalers, and it has Bob Marley wearing a Whalers goalie mask with the old John Garrett
with the
logo
dreadlocks
on it.
And it's a little scary. It's kind of scary looking, but I like it.
But it's something to look for, and you know, if you're interested, you can contact them directly.
I mean, they've been nationally recognized. As you said, I think they played at some of the Winter Classics.
Well, they played at the Winter Classic. They played at the NCAA championship game in Florida a couple of years ago, and you know, so these guys are no joke, and they're Connecticut residents. They want the Whalers back as much as we want the Whalers back. So it's a great group to have, you know, in with us as an addition to the brigade that we have now, a national group saying, hey, let's get going here. So that should be a lot of fun. I have always, since we started this project, going on 4 years, over 4 years now, have always been the one to say we have to keep people reminded that the 86-87 team was awesome. Went 7 games with Montreal, had the parade when they came back. We knew those players, Deneen, Francis, Samuelson, Turgeon, you know, all the big names that really made Hartford nationally recognized. Sports Illustrated, all these big sports magazines and newspapers covered us. We were everywhere. But we have to remember that we started back in 1971 with the New England Whalers. And we have to remember, as much as there are naysayers out there and say, oh, it's only the Whalers, they've only been there for X amount of time. No, we were here in 1971. We existed in 1971 in Boston, and that's when Howard Baldwin and his investment group brought them to the WHA. They played in the Boston Garden. They played at the Big E. Then they traveled down and they made it to Hartford. And they made it to Hartford because they wanted to be New England Whalers, and when the WHA, that was great. And then when they turned into the Hartford Whalers, because you couldn't call them the New England Whalers because the Boston Bruins were part of the NHL.
Which is fine with me. I like that. I'm glad that they were Hartford-centric.
No, you're absolutely right. We need, and you see with the logo and apparel, you know, kids are wearing it. These kids weren't alive when the Whalers were here, but they wear it because it's ours. It's territorial. And you see that. 1971, great year. 1972, Jack Kelly, the first coach of the New England Whalers.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Right, first coach of the New England Whalers. Yeah, and in those early '70s years when they won the WHA championship, I remember
AFCO Cup.
That's right.
Yep.
I think it was I'm not sure it was the Boston Globe. It was one of the major papers had almost like a political cartoon, but it showed the New England Whaler guy and it showed the Bruins because the Bruins, I guess, got knocked out of the playoffs the year before, and they were saying, here's the New England Whalers. They're champions of their leagues, and how come the Bruins aren't?
Right, exactly.
So there was a little bit of a rivalry with the Boston, and that's where it stems off from. Like them moving to Hartford. It still kept that Hartford-Boston rivalry. It'd always be that team that left Boston.
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see how the Bruins, they had the Celtics, and then they had the New England Whalers.
Right.
And I don't think the Bruins liked really sharing their stage.
Go back to territory.
Yeah, go back to territory. So here's Howard Baldwin thinking, well, where can I move this team?
Right.
And he ends up moving it to Hartford, and I don't know how people were at the time, but it sold out the first night.
Yes, it did.
It did. And
what's really cool is when I was doing a little research, the Whalers' name came into play because they wanted to use a name that had WHA in it.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool that they came up with that, and it carried the WHA, and it's still to this day, it's part of the name.
Yeah,
and it brings back that whole tradition and hockey heritage that we have for the Whalers, whether it's the New England Whalers or Hartford Whalers. Yeah. We have to remember. I mean, when I was a kid, we used to play street hockey in my friend's driveway. It had a little yellow phonograph, if you remember what those are. With the 45 at a brass bonanza.
You used to play when you scored.
So, scored a goal, you run over there, turn it on, right? But you had two brothers, Krister Abrahamson and the other Tommy Abrahamson. And one was a goalie, one was out on the ice. And so, I was always, I like playing goal, so I was Krister Abrahamson. And, and then, of course, when you got older, you want to be Cap Rader or Al Smith, So there was so much, and then Gary Swain came into play when he got involved with Whaler Sports and Entertainment. Yeah. So you brought back those players. He was there for the Fan Fest as well. Rick Lee, Johnny McKenzie. These are guys not many people know about. Look them up on the hockey DB there, and you can get all their information. It's really a hockey tradition that we do have in Hartford with the New England and Hartford Whalers.
And Rick Lee is interesting to me because when he was coach, he was not my favorite coach. But as history moves on, you kind of learn some things, and some people that are were close to the team and were players on the team have told me, it wasn't really Rick Lee's fault when he was coaching. He kind of had to do what management was telling him to do, and he made some unpopular decisions. So he wasn't really popular. But as a player, and I got to go with what Mike Visor told us on this show. We had Mike Visor, the goalie, Hartford Whalers, and he said Rick Lee was a workhorse in front of the net. He said he was a monster. Nobody wanted to deal with him. He was defensively, a defensive guru pretty much. And I anything Mike Visor tells me is good enough for me.
Sure, Mike Visor's a heck of a guy.
So when he told me that, I had because as Rick Lee was playing, I was a little bit too young to really understand the game of hockey and understand how big of an impact of a player he was.
Sure.
But when Mike Visor told me that, I said, I don't need to hear anymore.
I don't need any more. I'm good. Yep. It's interesting when you look at the information, and we are reading information that we did get from the Hartford Current online, and you can look at it too, the historical timeline with the Hartford Whalers. What's great is the Whalers played their first NHL game on April 19th. I'm sorry, WHA game. October 12th, 1972. What's really cool about that was that it was at the Boston Garden, and they beat the Philadelphia Blazers 4-3 before 14,442 people.
Right.
And it's great. Nobody knows that Tommy Williams scored the first Whalers goal.
No, that's true.
Who the hell is that guy? I've
New
never
England
heard of the guy. Right, New England Whalers.
And
then Plow scores the first game-winning goal.
Well,
Larry
a big
Plow,
name.
very big. And he went on to do some great things with the St. Louis Blues as general manager.
He was even the LA Kings coach at one point or not.
I don't remember.
But anyway, but he's been coach. He was captain of the team, I think, as well.
Yep.
And I don't know if he wore number 4. I'm trying to remember, but anyway.
He was number 4. Davey Keon was 14.
That's right.
Rick Lee was number 2. Obviously, he's hanging from the rafters.
And one of the great things that Ron Francis said one time was he said, I remember when I joined the Whalers, My dad wasn't even. He was more happy that my roommate was Dave Keon than he was that I made the Whalers. And
Davey Keon. They played an audio clip of Davey Keon being interviewed on ESPN Radio one morning, and I was like, "Wow, Davey Keon! I remember the name." But again, you were I was young when I knew that.
You had a lot of flux of players, great players. Because people don't realize one time you had Bobby Hull and Gordie Howe. Playing for the Hartford Whalers. Now they were, older, past the apex of their careers.
Right.
But I mean, it's like you have these. I mean, these are household hockey names. Dave Keon was another one.
Yep.
Johnny McKenzie was definitely famous as being a Bruin.
Right. He was at the end of his career. When you got into with Larry Plow and Davey Keon, it was towards the end of their careers.
It was the draw that brought some of the New England fans, the New England Whaler fans. Because they wanted to see these guys that used to play in the NHL. Now they're playing in New England
Imagine
Whalers.
having those guys in a locker room today as veterans.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the WHA.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the New England Whalers with the Carlsons.
Yeah.
Jack Carlson. You had Alan Hankslaven.
Yeah.
And just the brawl at the mall was, you listen to the other side of that 45 and you're like, this was a mess.
I know, that's the one video that nobody can find.
And the other thing is when Tato was on the show, Bob Buds, he talked about how after that game, that brawl in the mall, both of those teams flew out on the same jet out to the next game.
That's amazing.
And to Minnesota.
It wouldn't happen today.
And it's not it's not going to happen because we have entitled players that need
space.
Luxury.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, they were too tired to fight because they just kicked the crap out of each other on the ice, so they all slept on the plane.
Yeah, it's hysterical. Now that famous New England Whalers logo was the W, and with the harpoon through it.
Right.
That wouldn't fly today, probably with the PETA and all that.
Right. Yes, exactly.
But at the time, that's what it was. It was a commemorative to how many? Because believe it or not, Boston was the #1 whaling port. The #2 whaling port in the world at the time, this is back in the 1860s, 70s, was New London, Connecticut.
No kidding.
And that's how the state animal, Connecticut, is the whale.
Well, that's amazing.
So, yeah.
This is why he's on the show. He knows all this useful information.
Yeah, worthless information.
The other thing to bring up, which is really cool, is on May 6, 1973, the Whalers defeated the Winnipeg Jets 9-6 on national TV. It was televised on CBS.
Wow.
Really cool.
Wow.
And actually it goes on to say that was to win the WHA title that game.
Oh, that's right.
So that was 1973, May 6th.
That's
and
that's
they talk about later in that month that Jack Kelly was named Coach of the Year for the World Hockey Association.
It was this Winnipeg Hartford thing is kind of interesting. There's a lot of history with Winnipeg and Hartford, the WHA, the NHL.
Sure.
If the Phoenix Coyotes somehow end up in Hartford somehow, how neat is that the original Winnipeg franchise would be in Hartford?
Yes.
You could carry on the WHA thing. Winnipeg would probably love us because we have their old team, even though they have their new team.
What's really funny is when you look back at the teams of the WHA, and Mark Wallan does an awful lot with the WHA, and WHA has their own Facebook page as well. The names of the teams back then were so unique.
Yeah.
You had the Cincinnati Stingers.
Right.
You had the Indianapolis Racers.
Yeah.
And then you had the New England Whalers, which, judging from all three, sounds like the most normal one. John Garrett, I believe, played for the Cincinnati Stingers. So I remember I remember Cincinnati seeing games at the Civic Center when I was a kid, seeing WHA games. So there's a lot of hockey history, and I encourage people to take a look on. Well, there's the World Hockey Association, and look at those numbers, and you really can't compare. It is kind of two different worlds because hockey was. That WHA was a competitive league against the NHL, and obviously the NHL knew better to gobble up those teams, and they did. And they did. That was direct competition. They needed that money.
Oh yeah. Because hockey was different. That they were losing stars. They were losing their older stars.
Yes.
But that gave NHL they felt a little threatened by it.
Right.
But it gave the way for Hartford to get a team, and it's been a long 18 years since the Whalers left. But now we're looking at maybe a chance for Hartford again as things are ramping up. You mentioned earlier that you learned so many people are using the busway.
Yes, right in the New Britain area, I was told that especially the college, Central Connecticut State University, gave 1,000 bus passes to their students last year. Right when it started in March, Up until now, there's been 93,000 riders just from the university.
Right.
And that's great. You know, you brought up the point, is that two-way? Is it round trip? Is it, whatever?
Regardless.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
93,000 is an awful lot from that area.
I think we can say the busway is pretty much successful. And
Well,
imagine
in that
an
area,
NHL
yes.
team in Hartford, and then now you're busing that. They've already announced that they're going to have that busway work for to bring people to the UConn football games.
Great.
So, it's
I mean,
working out well.
it's very important because we have to continue building on, I've always been a proponent of light rail system. We couldn't do that.
Yeah.
The busway, I hope it is successful, whether people agreed or disagree with it. We're all paying for it, so let's make it successful.
Yeah.
And if all those people are going in, I think the best thing is, in my eyes, I want to screw those people down at those parking lots because those son of a guns are buying,
it's very
you got
expensive to
$10,
park in
$15,
Hartford.
that's a bunch of crap. And
Yeah.
that guy's walking away with his wallet fat and mine's getting thinner.
Yeah,
So he
yeah.
can take a hike. I'll do $3 on a round trip. Are you kidding me? $3? No gas.
Yeah.
No waiting in traffic.
Yeah.
No parking lots for that greedy son of a gun. So yeah, I'm all fired up.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah. Well, maybe we should wrap it up then.
I know. Shouldn't have coffee before the show. When we talk about what we're doing, we're going to go see the Zambonis next week.
Yeah.
And so hopefully we can get a couple of those episodes in with, we might actually have to do 2 episodes because if we stay long enough, we can do 2 episodes. I think it'll be a lot of fun with those guys.
Absolutely.
So we're going to leave it for now. We'll get back to some hockey history in Hartford on the next show. For Peter Hindle, I'm Jerry Irwin. We are One Nation Under Green. We're the Whaler guys. You're the Brigade. Have a great night.
Let's go whale.
That's right.